Welcome or welcome back, friends. Today we're gonna talk about how to build a routine menu. I have mentioned this in a previous video that I will link up here. If you haven't watched it, please go and check it out. But I wanted to share with you something that has truly changed my life, which is building menus for my routines. A routine menu is essentially a list of activities and habits that I can implement and do to have my ideal routine. This could be a morning routine, an evening routine, a workout routine, or even a working routine. I love to have routine menus because they give me some flexibility and they help me to actually stick to healthy habits. By the end of this video, I hope you're gonna be as excited about routine menus as I am, and you'll be able to build your own to finally stick to those healthy habits and build your dream life. First of all, if you need any convincing, routines are extremely important to be able to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and overall improve your health. However, implementing a habit can take an average of 2 months to actually build. And because of this, I have realized that I would get to maybe a few weeks in, maybe even a month in, and I would then get bored, dropped everything, and went back to my pattern of stress and bad routine. So as someone who experienced that firsthand, I figured that actually things don't have to be the exact same every single day. I tended to associate the word routine with something that is the same all the time. And although obviously the idea of a routine is that it is repeat patterns and the idea of going back to habits and things that have worked for you in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the same every day. And in fact, flexibility within your routine can really help, and it's very important to avoid burnout and reduce stress when it comes to actually improve your health. What is the point of you trying to have a routine if you're going to get really stressed or upset or angry because you can't actually implement that routine every single day? I found myself needing variety, and I needed to be creative in the way that I approach my health and well-being every single day. And so I decided to very slowly but steadily build myself my ideal routine menus. A routine menu is a list of activities and habits that you know work for you. So of course, when it comes to building one, you have to be clear on what type of routine you are thinking of. This could be a morning routine, it could be an evening routine. There's lots of examples, but at the basis of a routine menu is the fact that you would have tested and tried that specific habit or activity, and you know that it gives you the result that you're after. So I guess the first question you should ask yourself is, what is it that you're trying to achieve with that specific routine? For me, my morning routine is all about setting myself up, making sure that I don't rush and that I don't start the day stressed and overwhelmed. And so for that, and with that in mind, I created a routine menu that offers me a selection of activities and things that I can turn to achieve that feeling. In my morning routine menu, there are things like movement, and this could be a walk or a workout. There are things like spending 5 minutes outside in the fresh air. There is gratitude, there is journaling, there are affirmations, and there are things like having a wholesome breakfast or listening to an interesting podcast or reading some interesting nonfiction. All of these things are things that I can turn to, and depending on how I wake up, my mood, my energy level, I can pick what makes more sense for me that morning. As a general rule, what I will do is I usually do 2 to 3 of the things in my menu to make sure that I actually do have a routine. I like to have at least 30 minutes dedicated to whatever routine it is. This could be a morning routine or an evening routine, but I feel like if it's less than 30 minutes, it just loses its meaning and its impact. In contrast, a rigid routine would be something like waking up, washing your face, going for a workout, having breakfast, and doing your gratitude, and then you're out of the door working. I think that that is something that can work for some people, and there's so many successful people that swear by limiting the amount of choices that you have. But in this specific instance, even though I always try to reduce decision fatigue, I find it that leaving space for creativity and to follow whatever you truly feel in the morning, especially as a woman who likes to follow my cycle and likes to syncing things with that, I found it truly life-changing. So let's try and do this together. Step one is to identify the routines that you need. Think about when you feel that you need to be grounded and when you think you're going to benefit the most from having something that can always be there. I see routines as an act of self-care. So whether it's the morning, the evening, whether it's before work or during your lunch break, just think about 1 to 2 or maybe 3 routine menus that you'd like to build. Once you have identified this, now it's time to brainstorm and look into your past and into things that you might want to try. And I want you to make a list. And in this list, put every single thing that you think might be good for your routine. These could be things that you have tried, or they could be things that you would like to try. It's totally fine if you're new to routines to not necessarily have lots of ideas for what you should put into each, and I could just do another video about this if it might be helpful, but try to let yourself dream about what your ideal routine would look like and how you want to feel. That is really going to help you to identify activities that can support you. Once you have the list, it's time to put it into practice. Now remember what I said, to build a habit, it can take up to 2 months. But I don't want you to obsess over this. I want you to take your routine menu and treat them as you would treat just any a la carte menu in a restaurant. You go in, maybe you have a few favorites, but ultimately you're kind of drawn to one thing. That's how you should see them. There is no judgment, there is no expectation to have to perform every single thing in that menu. And more to it, I would invite you to select things and to pick things within each category so that you have something that can be a bit more high energy and a bit low energy. It's unrealistic, in my opinion, to be always the same and to feel every single day at the same level of energy. And so what that does is it helps you to have options that can match wherever you are on that specific day. Let's talk about movement, for example. Some days you're gonna feel on top of the world. You are gonna wake up having had the best night's sleep, and all you're gonna want to do is go out for a run or go to a HIIT class or do some weightlifting. Some other days, however, you may feel like getting some movement in your day is the last thing that you want to do. But this is where the routine menu can help you. Because what you will have in your routine menu is something that is very simple and very low effort for those days. Movement is extremely important, and so what you can add for that could be just a simple 5-minute stretching, or maybe a quick walk to grab a coffee. Hopefully you see what I'm getting at. But essentially, I think what has been the most transformative for me has to be the fact that I have an option for every single version of myself, and that takes away so much stress because I don't feel the pressure to have to perform in a certain way, and I don't feel the pressure to have the exact same routine every single day to feel like I am successful or I am achieving something. Routines are incredibly powerful, but I do think they have been unfortunately weaponized against us, and they sometimes can feel impossible to implement. And they kind of defeat the purpose when it gets to that point, because all I think we should all aim to do is to have something that works for us and to have something that inspires us to take care of ourselves every single day. I want to give you a few pointers in case you stumble across some hurdles when you're trying to implement and use your routine menus. The first thing is to remember that as soon as you get bored or as soon as you feel misaligned, swap the things that you're doing. That's why you have a routine menu. And if none of those things work, you can always add and remove things as you experiment and find the things that truly work for you. This is particularly important as you go through life changes. For example, for me, when I went from being in a 9-to-5 to being self-employed, my daily routines just didn't need to stay the same. And for the longest time, I really clung on to the idea of having a very set structure. But with time, I realized that actually letting a little bit loose and relaxing a little bit in my daily routines has really helped me to approach my current needs in a better way. So remember to amend and change and update things if you're going through a different life season. And the last tip is to remember to keep a balance between the spontaneity and the creativity of having a routine menu, but also the structure and the discipline that is still very much needed. A routine menu is not going to help you if you don't turn to it. And that is why I like to have this small rule of having at least 2 to 3 things that I do every single day in each of my routine. That gives me a sense of structure and it helps me to stay disciplined and show up for myself every single day. No matter how little or small, you have to keep showing up for yourself every day. I really hope that sharing this has helped to solidify the idea of a routine menu and encourage you to give it a try, because it's definitely something that has changed my life for the better. I was never someone who was particularly keen on building habits, and I wasn't taught to do that when I was younger. So it's been a learned skill, but something that has truly changed my life for the better. You can start small, don't feel overwhelmed by the idea of building millions menus at the time. Perhaps pick one and start experimenting. And if you want to, for a little bit of accountability or just to share, make sure to comment below if you're gonna give this a go and what are your things? What are the things that you're gonna add to your routine menus? Because everyone could use it with a little bit of inspiration. And as always, thank you so much for being here, and a final reminder that you deserve to live a beautiful and soft life. See you next time.